Drive guys today, it's Jay and Whitey with Kyle Draper. Take the day off because he's not feeling tip-top. Hopefully he's back with us tomorrow. Maybe he just blew out his voice last night with the play-by-play of that 130-88 thrashing of the always pesky Charlotte Hornets.
Way to spin that.
Yeah. Well, you never know. That team, they look like one of the worst teams we've ever seen over the last couple of nights. With more on that and the Kings and where this is all going, nice enough to join us, as he did last Friday out at the Golden One. From The Athletic, Anthony Slater. How are you today, Slates?
Draper just yelling Zach LaVine just too much last night.
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah. He just had Zack LaVine from Yuba City, and then I think it just, he just pushed it a little too hard.
That was pretty good Draper, I gotta
say. The Zack LaVine that we saw last night, Anthony, obviously no one does that every night.
Yeah.
How close to that guy do the Kings need him to be almost, if not every night?
Well, every night you can't, like you said, you can't ask for that. We're 42. But he's kind of streaky, right? He's had months this year of like high 40s from three on like pretty good volume. And I watched him win the Bulls a few games early in the year. I can remember a Denver one where he, striped to like, 29 footers in crunch time to be, Jokic was kind of on the move trying to take down the Bulls. And so he's capable. I think it's just been an awkward fit, understandably, early on. And, you talk to people heading out of the All-Star break around the team and how they just felt like he was just like tiptoeing around offensively too much. I think he's a good guy generally. People in the league think he's a pretty good dude. And I think a lot of times good guys, when they go to teams, that they don't want to overdo it early on. And I think they needed him to maybe, kind of turn on the aggression, because honestly, like if he's not out there being aggressive offensively, then his flaws show more and his strengths don't.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Anthony, one of the things that I think, here in Sacramento, people are still trying to get a grasp on are the Malik Monk point guard experiment. And even if it is an experiment, have you had an opportunity to kind of dive deep into Malik running this team without De'Aaron Fox so far?
Yeah, he's kind of an intriguing, to me, the two guard, but a two guard with playmaking skills and on-ball skills. Obviously, you can be a pick-and-roll ball handler. And that was when De'Aaron Fox was here. There was plenty of that last year. That's why he probably was going to win Sixth Man of the Year before he injured his knee. I don't think he's the perfect type of point guard for this team, because he is a point guard that's going to want to get shots and pick-and-roll uses, as we're mentioning, where, Domantas Sabonis needs the ball in his hands plenty and needs his shots. Zach LaVine obviously now needs a lot of that in DeMar DeRozan. He's not really kind of a sit on the side, space the floor type guy. So, the Kings they got a lot of offensive talent. This is the team, the core that they have for the rest of the season. So they're going to kind of make it work. And I'm not advocating they suddenly start, playing Markelle Fultz 25 minutes a game, because maybe you could say he's a more traditional point guard, but I don't necessarily think Monk is the exact type of point guard you'd want for this team, but whatever. Maybe he's got to just take a little bit more of a pass first approach to kind of get this team, to maximize what it is. But also, I just don't think you can tell Malik Monk to do that. That's just not his mindset.
Yeah. In some ways, Keon would be a great point guard for this team, but he's just not a point guard. Anthony Slater with us. Slates, I'm not a capologist, but I'm wondering here, in this era of the huge mega max extensions, is Zach LaVine's contract, is it seen as more manageable than it was even just a year or so ago?
Yeah, it was like a toxic contract this past summer, to where teams, including, I know, the Warriors talked to the Bulls about it, and the Warriors are trying to get them to attach a pick to take it. And again, that's not. It's somewhat because where the cap is going, but honestly, it's just because of the seasons he was coming off, which included, not necessarily great numbers, but also injuries, concerning injuries. He's a guy in his past who's torn his ACL. He's had knee problems. He's had foot problems. And he erased those concerns. And he was shooting career highs this year and playing, almost every night. So I think if you're getting 70, 75 games of him, he's on a relatively fair market deal, but I think it's more about that than the cap.
Joined by Slate's Anthony Slater of The Athletic, fantastic reporter over that way. Slate's, one of the things we continue to monitor, and I proposed this question to Whitey a little earlier, is are we now at the point of the season where not only are you looking at your games, but you're also looking at, the teams around you or the teams in your conference? Have you kind of started to put your eyeball on that, or is that something you always do all season, or are we even at that point in the season yet?
I always do it all season, number one. Number two, like this is a time if you have one eyeball kind of monitoring, you got two looking right at it. I mean, if you're a Kings fan last night, you should have been, rooting for the Thunder in overtime against the Timberwolves. Like that was a big loss for everybody, else around that bracket. Or if any of these teams have visions of going up to the 6th spot, which is like now that the play-in exists, that's such a line of demarcation. You want the 6. Well, the Clippers just lost back-to-back games in Indy and Detroit. That's huge. They're falling back to
3 in a row.
Yeah, and they got 2 Lakers games coming up, and I don't know. You never know with Kawhi's injuries because they're so hidden. But is he about to miss more time than we think? Like these are huge deals. The Mavericks monitor their status with their centers. I saw Anthony Davis prior to the game on Sunday afternoon in San Francisco warming up. It was very ginger, but I was surprised he was out there on the court. If he comes back earlier than we think, then suddenly, maybe the Mavericks have a surge in them. So, it's a long-winded way of answering your question. The Kings need to be scoreboard watching every night. The Warriors, I'm driving right now to see them face the Hornets without LaMelo Ball tonight. At least watch the first 10 minutes tonight and hope that somehow the Hornets show up. You might be turning off at the end of the first quarter, but if somehow the Hornets were to upset them, as by the way they went and beat the Lakers, earlier, I think last Wednesday, that would be a huge thing for the Kings. They need help, right? And they can't get help only in their arena.
Mm-hmm. Is Amick driving again?
Amick's in LA for Luka against Dallas. I don't know what's the bigger game tonight. Mavericks, Lakers, or Warriors, Hornets. I don't know where the
toss up.
Are going to be.
It's a toss up. Yeah, no question.
Well, hey, by the way, there you go with the Kings tonight. Root for Luka Doncic. Root for the revenge tonight. You need another Mavericks loss.
Yeah. The Kings are so up and down. They've had now. I think they're the 3rd team in the league this year with multiple wins by 40 or more. They've also lost by 20. I think it's 6 times now. Is that just primarily because they're such a iffy defensive team that they're prone to these ups and downs?
We're talking about the Kings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they're explosive, obviously. So, I think that the 3-point variance in general league-wide has led to more, not only massive wins, but at times huge comebacks, right? How many times now do you see a team down 25 in a game? And obviously, the Timberwolves last night, they were down 90-66, and then I blinked and they were down 5 with 2 minutes left. So I think some of that's the variance, but also the Kings have had such a roller coaster of an emotional season where I think much. And I think when you're just collectively, organizationally feel so down, it can lead to these blowout losses. And then suddenly they feel like they get a jolt of Red Bull for a 2-week stretch and they get these huge wins and everything's back and they light the beam. So I think there's a little of that. It's just a volatile situation in general, it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Slate, just somebody, I actually had 2-part question, but I want to make sure I get this in before we let you go.
Yeah.
For someone like yourself who's always around the league, one of the things that I've always noticed now, especially, when we're out traveling, is once they find out you're from Sacramento, everybody screams "light the beam." That's that's the what's up. That's the head nod of Sacramento fans. Is the beam respected throughout the league, or do people more or less hate it? What's your take on the field? Yeah, is it corny, or what do people think about the beam?
I don't think anybody hates it. Okay. I do think that the time it was introduced, I think there was a thought that it was going to be looked at as corny, but they ended up having this renaissance season that almost legitimized it as a thing. It almost felt like there was kind of a magical power to it because who saw them, getting the 3 seed that year? And it was they figured it out. I don't know, something's going on there. So I do think it became a positive symbol because of what it represented that particular season. And I agree with you that that's the first thing that's mentioned a lot of times. Yeah, and right. The Kings are coming. Somebody makes a beam comment, but I think and again, maybe it could be viewed small market or corny, however you want to view it. But I think that's kind of embraced by Sacramento in general. Like they are kind of this like, upstart team that's kind of trying to legitimize itself. And I think that, that almost adds to their character a little bit.
Love, Whitey. We got love.
Yeah. You say you had a two-parter?
Yeah, I was going to ask about something else, but that's okay, man.
Okay. All right. Next time.
Go ahead.
I care less about basketball. I want to talk about the beam, man.
All right.
I got a non-basketball question for you.
For sure.
Jay and I, we don't know what time you left, but Jay, try to guess where he is now on his way. He's in San Pablo right now. What do you think?
Ooh. Let me see, 3:40 start. Nah, he's not San Pablo. Slate's ain't that
No.
far. I'm going.
See, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go Sassoon area.
Yeah. Who's closest?
I'm just like basically right past Dixon, heading towards Vacaville.
Oh, okay, so I'm closer.
Yeah,
Vacaville,
very
baby.
much.
I will be at the arena by about 4:50 p.m. for a 7 p.m. start.
Well, you have to do that to go to the Bay, man. Because if you be like, I could get there in an hour and a half, the 80 will tell you, nope.
Yep.
Bay Bridge, nah.
Bay Bridge lasted. All right. Thanks, Slates. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you soon.
Stay safe.
All right, fellas.
Yeah. Drive safely. Huh? How about that?
Yeah.
A beam.
Yeah, we got love, baby.
Yeah.
It's become one of those things, and Slate said it. You look at ESPN when they do talk about the Sacramento Kings. One of the first things you hear is like, oh, the Sacramento, like the beam. Somebody's in the back automatically, right? It could be Big Perk or Jeff or Richard Jefferson or somebody. But I noticed, and saw quite a bit at All-Star Weekend. Of course, that's in our backyard in the Bay. Literally going by, and people's like, Jay, what's up, man? It's like the beam, immediately. Or if they're rocking a Kings jersey, they see or recognize me, like the beam. Jay is like, all right, man. It's almost a what's up now.
It's definitely reunited, not reunited, but united everybody.
Yeah,
it's a rallying cry.
I mean, I go back to, what was that, Summer League or no, California Classic? Well, same thing where, we saw a couple of the fans coming out and people were talking about lighting the beam, and they went viral. It's the what's up of Sacramento Kings fans.
Do Zach and DeMar still feel like they have something to prove together here in Sacramento? I asked him about that last night.
Did you?
Yes. We'll hear maybe what one of them had to say. If we don't hear it, I'll tell you what he had to say. When we come back, Sactown Sports.